Are there any questions or comments as to the minutes? Okay. Then the minutes will be deemed approved. The next item before the board is a resolution adopting an amendment to the bylaws. And I think this is something we had discussed actually at the July meeting and had decided to put forward to today so everybody would have a chance to review it. Just to summarize the amendments, basically what we're doing is updating the titles to reflect the current officers of the Housing Trust Fund Corporation, and that includes the restructuring that's happened at the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery. It includes the creation of the Office of the Chief Strategy Officer for Portfolio Management and Portfolio Preservation that we will discuss in a little bit. It amends the signature authority. Currently under our bylaws, only senior officers, which include the Deputy Executive Commissioner and Chief Operating Officer, the General Counsel, the President of the Office of Finance and Development, the President of the Office of Single Family and Community Development, and the Chief of Staff, and as proposed, the Chief Strategy Officer for Portfolio Management has signatory authority for the corporation. However, these senior officers can designate signature authority to other offices. The proposed amendment would streamline the designations and make the authority consistent with the officer that's granting the authority. So I can only designate to somebody the authority that I myself have. And similarly, I'm looking at you to make sure I'm safe.
So each, I think the main distinction along this line of hierarchy is any senior officer will still be able to designate across the board. So you'll be able to sign and designate across the board. And the senior officers are defined as the executive staff, basically, in the organizational chart. Under that, all of our other program officers, President of OHP,
OCR, President of
OCR, President of OPS, they will all have their own signature authorities for their own offices, and it'll be an inherent authority.
Those are what's known as the other officers?
Yes.
Right.
So the other officers can sign for their
own program offices.
getting a delegation from the...
Yes.
From the...
Now, practically at Hampton, we may have to... We shouldn't need to designate anyone with broader signatory authority, right?
So what will happen, for example, last week, if there was for example, Sean Fitzgerald was out, so he's the only Hampton-based signature for OFD.
Right.
Betsy authorized Marilyn to sign for him. And that's fine. So it was a single incident, and it was logged with us, and we now have a record that Marilyn was able to sign in Sean's place during that week.
So I just have one question on the tie. This may be different in the HTFC thing. Why are Diana and Mark, under the other officers as opposed to senior officers?
So Diana is president of OPS. It's what we call a head of her program office. Right. But the senior executive level is our only designation of senior officers. So in the grand org chart, it's the easiest way to visualize it. It's the org chart, which has Ruth Ann, Linda, now Becky, Nicole, Gabrielle,
Dina,
and Dina.
Everybody here reports to me. Everybody here reports here.
Betsy.
Excuse me, and Betsy.
It's just not that in the 641 Lex world, Diana is an SVP, as is Mark, right? And so...
I think that's a difference in the organizational structure between HTFC and 641 and the public authorities.
I mean, we can work on a new naming system. I don't want
to create trouble.
I was going to say, I think it gets a little bit tricky because of the historical references from senior vice president to senior officer. I think that it's... I think that it's the easiest thing for everybody just to remember what they can sign for. So you can sign for everything, basically. So as long as you're that you can sign for everything, great. If not, and you're an officer, you can sign for your own program.
Okay.
The next issue is a change in procedures that would allow a resolution to be adopted by the written approval of all the members. Currently, resolutions that are adopted by written approval, all members have to be reported at the next board meeting. This would allow that upon written approval of the members, it's deemed to be an action of the board unless at a subsequent meeting the board were to pull back on that approval, right?
But I thought that under the open meetings law, though, even though the bylaws may authorize you to adopt something, you still need to take it back to the board.
So this is actually that requirement of ratification.
Oh.
So it's,
I'm sorry, I did it in reverse.
It's okay. So we are now requiring a ratification action
Right.
in quotes,
Yep.
at the next board meeting to then basically bring it back to the table for.
Right.
I'm sorry, I did it in reverse.
Okay.
Additional questions? If they're not, assuming the first and second previously entered for the governance committee, all in favor, please say aye.
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 And then, assuming the first and second and previously entered for the board, all in favor of the amendments to the bylaws, please say aye.
Aye.
The motions are carried and the resolution adopted. The next item before the board and the governance committee is a resolution appointing the chief strategy officer for portfolio management.
Did we get the wrong title for Becky and ours?
Oh, no, it was the same, wasn't it?
Portfolio
That's why I
preservation,
screwed up.
I messed up.
What did I put in?
I think I said portfolio preservation, if that helps.
I think
I
wrote it
just
wrong.
used portfolio
You
management.
preservation and management. You know, you do that.
Wow. It all. We're pleased.
Open the meeting. Gosh.
We're pleased to have her. I'm pleased to recommend for your consideration appointment of Becky Kepnick as Chief Strategy Officer of Portfolio Preservation for the Housing Trust Fund Corporation. A corresponding recommendation has been made naming Ms. Kepnick as Chief Strategy Officer of New York State Homes and Community Renewal and of other affiliated agencies of HCR. So in this new role, Becky will be here to provide policy guidance to me and as needed to the Governor's Chamber as well. She would work with, alongside, and advise Mark Colon, President of the Office of Housing Preservation, on strategic leadership issues around our portfolio, around our asset management, our 4%, our 9%, our Mitchell-Lama portfolio, our public housing portfolio, the weatherization program, the Section 8 program. Becky comes, as I said this morning, with a very broad and deep experience in affordable housing, especially in preservation, in her roles working for the City Housing Agency, working as an assistant to the Secretary of HUD, working at the Willis Institute for Affordable Housing, at the Boston Foundation, and many other places. And we are super happy to have her, and I recommend her appointment without reservation. I love that sentence.
I like the one you
It's
said,
such
super
like an
happy.
affirmative. I recommend her without reservation.
I like the super happy.
Super happy.
So if there's no questions, and assuming the first and second previously entered for the board, now before the board is a resolution appointing Becky Kepnick as the Chief Strategy Officer for Portfolio Preservation. I tried to get it right. All in
So
favor?
moved.
Oh, right.
Okay.
We already
All
did.
good.
All good. The motion is carried and the resolution is adopted. Now before the board is a resolution approving the administration of the Hoosick Falls buyout program.
That's me.
Who's your
Last
fault?
July 2017, the Woodbrooks River flooded the village of Hoosick Falls in Rensselaer County. 13 properties were damaged by the flood, and today Executive Sam grant funds and suballocate to the village of Hoosick Falls to administer the acquisition of those properties.
$1 million buys all 13 homes?
So the village mayor has come up with a few alternative budget plans. It does not, if you include the cost of demolition and the likelihood that the homes will have asbestos. But we are looking through the town of Hoosick Falls, of which the village is part of, has received a $900,000 CDBG grant, of which some of that might be able to use towards this. If not, the mayor has come up with a plan where he would acquire just the prioritized of those 13 properties. They would be the owner-occupant ones that received the most damage.
What happens after they buy them?
They'll be demolished, and the land will be turned into like a greenway. There's additional SAMS funds that are going towards a design study the DEC's going to manage, and then hopefully green infrastructure funds through the CDBG grant will build out that space.
So will it be an easement that you can't do residential development there?
Yeah, no development, correct.
And where did the people go? Who
We're
were
not
in those
sure.
homes? Oh, okay. They're just not there now.
Most of them are still living in the homes right now.
Oh,
Yeah, they're not displaced.
I think this is awesome. I'm glad we're doing some of this in New York.
and the mayor will work with the homeowners to get them resettled somewhere else.
Yes, that's right.
Great. I agree with what
It's
Holly said.
easier to do in Houston Falls than New York City.
Yeah, and for 13 people. It's a good scale to work at. This is great. I know Rachel, you've been spending an enormous amount of time on this. It's great. From what I've heard. Did a great time.
Then now before the board is a resolution approving the administration of the Hoosick Falls buyout program, assuming the first and second previously entered. All in favor say aye.
Okay.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted. Next before the board is a resolution approving an extension of an agreement with the New York State Technology Enterprise Corporation for the Housing Choice Voucher Program System request for proposals. Dan?
Hi, good afternoon. NISTEC is a nonprofit corporation that was chartered by the state to specifically to take on technology transformation projects for various state and local agencies. We hired them from off an OGS list last spring to begin drafting the request for proposals that we're anticipating issuing this fall for the statewide housing choice voucher system that is currently the primary database for our Section 8 housing choice voucher program. The contract was initially under $100,000, so we didn't bring it to the board, but upon engaging NISTEC and beginning the process of requirements gathering, we realized that it would be optimal to also incorporate other technology systems at use in the Section 8 program to create a more comprehensive approach. And we've now come to an agreement with them to do that. To do so will increase NISTEC's price from $99,000 to around $148,000. They're billing us by the hour, so we're asking for authorization for up to $150,000.
Okay. I love technology, better.
Okay, I apologize. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the board, now before the board is a resolution approving an extension of agreement with the New York State Technology Enterprise Corporation for the Housing Voucher Program. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted. Next before the board is a resolution approving extension of an agreement with Stephen Winters for energy benchmarking services. Mark?
Okay, so we're coming to request an authorization to extend a personal services contract with Stephen Winters Associates to provide energy benchmarking services to our Mitchell-Lama public housing portfolios, and along with an expansion to a portion of the 9% in HTF portfolio in order to provide, to record, track, and analyze energy usage as an essential first step in understanding and managing energy costs in our portfolio. The request for an extension, last September, the board approved an amendment of the original personal services contract and an award of $100,000 to perform these services. And in order to add certain provisions that the board had requested, including a provision that ensured that we owned any data collected in connection with this, and also to meet the new MWBE requirements, there was a negotiating period that ended up with the contract being signed this May. The funding, I don't think any of the funding, the $100,000 award has been spent up to now. We're kind of we're at the point right now where we're actually gearing up to do that, to actually start to do some of the work and and also to coordinate with the city on their Local Law 87 benchmarking initiative. And so this is a request to extend that last year's amendment so that the contract that runs for a year runs to May 19. We can continue to carry it out.
Is this a time extension?
Yes.
Gotcha. Not like a change in the amount?
Nope.
Okay. Makes sense to me.
All right. Are there any additional questions? Then, assuming the first and second previously entered for the board, now before the board is a resolution approving an extension of agreement with Stephen Winters for energy benchmarking services. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted. And I apologize, I'm just shifting documents for a moment. Next before the board is a resolution authorizing an award under the Rural and Urban Community Investment Program to the Boys and Girls Club of Schenectady. Sean?
Thanks. Good afternoon. Presented for your consideration is a resolution authorizing a Urban Community Investment Fund award of up to $3 million for the construction of a new 39,000 square foot Boys and Girls Club that will serve the Hamilton Hill and Mount Pleasant neighborhoods in the city of Schenectady. The facility will be in close proximity to 4 schools and is expected to serve over 300 young people a day. In addition, the facility will complement the significant affordable housing investments HCR has made in Hamilton Hill over the past few years. As noted in the board memorandum for this item, the $3 million award authorization that Office of Finance and Development is recommending exceeds the $2 million per project limit announced in the CIF open window term sheet. However, based upon the specific financial needs of this project and the critical need for services that will be offered to residents in these 2 highly distressed communities, F&D believes the investment is warranted. Moreover, HCR's investment will leverage more than $10 million in new market tax credit equity and charitable giving being secured by the Boys and Girls Club. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them at this time.
It's amazing that they were able to get over almost $8 million from the community.
Right now, they have secured the commitments for that $8 million. At the time of construction closing, they will have approximately $3 million in hand. They will be securing the remainder of those commitments, getting them in hand over the course of construction, and we'll be coming in as a permanent source after construction is completed. So they've secured commitments. They only have a portion of the $8 million in hand right now. We've reviewed the donors, and they're really a who's who of significant financial business interest in the city of Schenectady and Schenectady County. We feel very confident that they'll be able to secure the remainder of the funds.
It's the Wright Foundation.
And do they have an
The Wright Foundation is involved.
Golub
Corporation, yep. I'm sorry.
I assume they don't have an existing facility that they're like replacing. This is just a brand new one. They don't have a presence.
No, as it turns out, our Hillside View project that we funded through Unified Funding involves the adaptive reuse of an old school. The Boys and Girls Club had to vacate that building because of the physical needs a few years ago. So this facility is actually replacing the one that was in the building that we rehabbed through the 9% credit program.
Gotcha. You took away the Boys and Girls Club. Nice job. That's
They were chased out of the building because of the conditions.
Actually, it's like stealing candy.
Yes. So this is a great project, and that's why we're really willing to go above the term sheet on it. It does still serve a very real need in this community.
great.
Okay, if there are no questions, now before the board is a resolution authorizing an award under the Rural and Urban Community Investment Fund Program to the Boys and Girls Club of Schenectady. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is passed and the resolution adopted. Next before the board is a resolution authorizing an award under the Rural and Urban Community Investment Program for 23 North.
Thanks. Presented for your consideration is a resolution authorizing an increase in the previously authorized Rural Community Investment Fund award to 23 North. This involves the adaptive reuse of a former commercial building that provides 16 new affordable rental units for seniors, as well as ground floor space in the village of Wellsville, Allegheny County. The project was initially awarded 9% credit, CIF, and Low-Income Housing Trust Fund subsidy in May of this year as part of last year's unified funding round. However, subsequent to award, the project developer was unable to secure an acceptable price for the 9% credits, in part due to the small size of the project, but also in part due to the lack of Community Reinvestment Act need in the community. We had numerous conversations with the project's tax credit syndicator, Raymond James, on what we could do to enhance the value of the credit to the investors. And one of the suggestions was that we increase the loan terms of our subsidy loans to 50 years. While there was no issue in doing that with the CIF funds because there is no maximum loan term in that statute, we are unfortunately limited to a 30-year loan term on the Housing Trust Fund program. So what this resolution does is basically back out our previous Housing Trust Fund award and backfill it with additional CIF funds so that we can go to a 50-year loan term and generate additional tax credit equity for the project. I should note that in doing so, we're again exceeding the RFP per project limit for CIF that we announced in our unified funding round. However, since the CIF is being replacing the HTF, the project is getting no additional funds beyond which they were entitled under the RFP.
Is this the Burroughs building?
This is the Burroughs building.
Yeah, this is a really important building for Allegheny County. It's got a very intact Main Street, frequently intact. I mean,
yeah.
It's very healthy. There are very few vacancies except for this very large building. It's like an anchor building at the end of the block.
Yeah.
And we have Main Street and funding in this.
Yep, and Empire State Development Corporation also has a significant investment as well. A tough project, an oddball project, only 16 units for tax credits. But we really are very, thankful for Raymond James to work with us to increase the pricing on the credit equity.
I'd like the record to know that I've been to Wellsville. And I've seen the little building. Sean, why don't you get the legislature to change your loan terms on HTF? I'm right back from vacation. I'm full of them, Sean.
I think we tried that one
for the last 7 years.
Let's remember this
we've tried that before.
I was going to ask whether you're thinking of increasing the RFP amount for CIF.
That's good.
That's interesting. Yeah. Right, that's a good point.
In fact, in the RFP that we released, we've ratcheted back down on a number of different project types because there was so much demand for the CIF funding. We're trying to parse it out a little bit more judiciously. So, but in this case, given the need for the fix, we're willing to go at a higher amount.
Great. So what's the amount now? Below $2 million now?
It would, between the previous award and this award, the total amount would, I think, be $3 million.
Sorry, not for this project. I meant what amount in the RFP is the CIF capped at now?
It is capped at $2 million. Previously, in our open window RFP for CIF, we could go up to $3 million for a couple of purposes. That's where we've ratcheted back from the amounts that we were authorized under the open window term sheet.
Got it.
Okay.
No more questions on this? Sounds good.
All right. There are no more questions, and now before the board is a resolution authorizing an award under the Rural and Urban Investment Program Fund for 23 North. Assuming the first and second previously entered, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted and the motion is carried. Next before the board is resolution authorizing an award under the Rural Urban Investment Fund Program for Northview Apartments.
This final CIF resolution authorizes a CIF award for up to $960,000 for the rehab 24 affordable rental units in the village of Evans Mills, New York, Jefferson County. The apartments are in significant need of physical repairs and stormwater management system to prevent further damage from flooding due to an on-site drainage issue. HCR did not participate in the original development financing of this project. However, HCR provides a rural rental assistance program rental subsidy to 12 of the 24 units. The total cost of the project's rehabilitation is expected to be $1.455 million and will be financed by the CIF loan and a nearly $500,000 loan from the Development Authority of the North Country. In order to contain the cost of the rehab, the developer agreed to forego a developer fee, and since there's no land transaction or property transaction, there will be no acquisition cost. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them at this time.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
Yep.
Right. If there are no questions, then now before the board is a resolution under the Rural and Urban Investment Fund Program for Northview Apartments, assuming the first and second previously entered. All in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried. The resolution is adopted and the motion is carried. Next before the board is a resolution under the Community Development Block Grant Program for Economic Development to the town of Oneonta for custom electronics.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. The town of Oneonta is requesting $750,000 in CDBG economic development funds to assist custom electronics with working capital and machinery equipment purchases needed to expand their operations at their current facility in the town. Custom Electronics is a global leader in the design and manufacture of high voltage capacitors for power supply. They have recently agreed to form a joint venture with a Las Vegas firm to produce and sell unique off-the-grid power supplies that will assist areas with power interruptions such as disaster relief efforts and other areas that require continuous power supplies, hospitals, concerts, movie sets. This new production line is being considered, quote, an intelligent battery off the grid. It should also be noted that Otsego County successfully was awarded $105,000 in 2013 to assist custom electronics, for which the company successfully created 9 full-time jobs. This project, this proposal here, is beyond the scope of the 2013 project. The proposed total project of $2.21 million will create 50 full-time jobs over 2 years, with all 50 to benefit low to moderate income individuals. The CDBG funds will be used for working capital and machinery and equipment, and the cost per job is $15,000 per job. Each dollar in CDBG funds provided will leverage $1.95 in private investment. We're requesting a recommendation and resolution to provide CDBG economic development funds to the town of Oneonta to assist custom electronics.
Any questions?
Any questions?
And if there are no questions, now before the board is resolution authorizing an award under this Community Development Block Grant Program for Economic Development to the town of Oneonta for custom electronics, assuming the first and second previously entered. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted and the motion is carried. Next before the board is a resolution authorizing an award under the Community Development Block Grant Program for Economic Development to the city of Oneonta for Nick's Diner on Chestnut.
Again, the city of Oneonta this time is requesting $230,000 in New York State CDBG economic development funds to assist Nick's Diner on Chestnut with the building acquisition to establish operations for a restaurant at the long-standing location. Unfortunately, the previous owner passed away, and the restaurant sat vacant for the last 4 years. Since then, a local businessman has purchased the property for the purpose of rehab and sale to a prospective purchaser who would operate under the name of Nick's Diner, and this will allow the new owner and manager to purchase the completely renovated building, including all the equipment needed to open a successful restaurant. The total project cost of $590,000 will create 16 full-time jobs over the 2 years, with 13 to benefit low to moderate income persons. The CDBG funds will be used strictly for building acquisition, and the cost per job is $14,375. Each dollar in CDBG funds provided will leverage $1.57 in private investment, and we're requesting a recommendation resolution to provide economic development funds to the city of Oneonta for Nick's Diner.
Any questions?
That's good. We get to go to eat there when
Seems like
24/7.
Then, assuming the first and second previously entered for the board, now before the board is a resolution of the Housing Trust Fund Corporation authorizing an award for economic development under the Community Development Block Grant Program to the city of Oneonta. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The resolution is passed, the resolution is adopted, and the motion is passed. Now before the board is a resolution authorizing an award under the Community Development Block Grant Program for Economic Development to Montgomery County for Dollar General.
Okay. So Montgomery County is requesting $750,000 in.
I apologize. I apologize, Jason. Go on. I skipped over one. You go
Okay.
on, and we'll go
Keep
back.
going with Montgomery County.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Montgomery County is requested $750,000 in economic development funds to assist Dollar General Distribution Center Northeast with the purchase of furniture, fixtures, and equipment needed to establish operations at a 750,000 square foot distribution center located in the town of Florida in Montgomery County. As Dollar General offers both name brand and generic merchandise, and although it has the word dollar in the name, it's not a dollar store by definition, and they often serve a customer base for smaller rural areas that don't have a discount store. This project will result in the creation of 242 jobs over the 2 years, but it should also be noted there will be additional employment of truck drivers, security, and unloaders that are not in the on Dollar General's payroll, but are still dedicated to the facility. The business is also predicting that by the end of 2021, they will create an additional 200 full-time jobs at the site. So the proposed total project cost of $6.75 million will create the 242 jobs over the 2 years, with 213 or 88% of them to benefit low to moderate income individuals. CDBG funds will be used for furniture, fixtures, and equipment, and the cost per job is $3,099 per job. Each dollar in CDBG funds will leverage $8 in private investment. We're requesting a recommendation resolution to provide economic development funds to Montgomery County to assist the Dollar General Distribution Center.
Any questions? And now before the board is resolution authorizing an award under the Community Development Block Grant Program for Economic Development to Montgomery County for Dollar General. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted and the motion is carried. Now before the board is a resolution authorizing an award under the Community Development Block Grant Program for Small Business Assistance to the City of Johnstown for Evolution Recycling.
Thank you. The City of Johnstown has requested $81,480 in CDBG small business funds to assist Evolution Recycling in the expansion of their current facility in Johnstown and Fulton County. New equipment is now required to handle the increasing workload and volume of the recyclables the company is processing. Their processing contributes to the reduction of waste into local landfills and turn that waste into useful raw materials. The new equipment will enable the process of more types of recycled material and will also increase efficiency of operations. The proposed project will create 5 full-time jobs with a total cost of $202,220. All 5 of those jobs will benefit low to moderate income individuals. The CDBG funds will use strictly for the purchase of machinery and equipment, and the cost per job is $16,296. Each dollar of CDBG funds will leverage $1.50 in private investment, and we're requesting a recommendation resolution to provide small business funds to the City of Johnstown to assist Evolution Recycling.
Are there any questions? Then now before the board is a resolution of the Housing Trust Fund Corporation authorizing an award for small business assistance under Community Development Block Grant Program to the City of Johnstown. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted and the motion is carried. Now before the board is a resolution authorizing an award under the Community Development Block Grant Program for Economic Development to Columbia County for Hudson Valley Creamery.
Thank you. So Columbia County is requesting $375,000 in CDBG economic development funds to assist Hudson Valley Creamery with the purchase of machinery and equipment essential to expand operations for the processing of fresh goat milk. Currently, Hudson Valley Creamery produces artisanal goat cheeses from imported frozen milk curd, and this project will allow them to maintain market leadership by sourcing goat milk from regional goat farms, reducing their reliance on imported product and their import costs, and enable product expansion in the growing market. According to them, the demand for goat milk products is on the rise, and they're looking to take advantage of that demand. The total project cost of $7,316,000 will create 25 full-time jobs over 2 years, with 22 to benefit low to moderate income persons. The funds will be used for machinery and equipment, and the cost per job is $15,000. Each dollar in CDBG funds provided will leverage $18.51 in private investment. We're requesting a recommendation resolution to provide CDBG economic development funds to Columbia County for the Hudson Valley Creamery.
You didn't add in here whether or not you like goat cheese. Agree that you think the goat cheese industry is on the rise.
Or you'd rather have frozen curd.
You summarized. You skipped the whole goat cheese discussion.
You don't like goat cheese?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't like it.
So he's not monitoring.
Maybe it's because it's frozen curd and you really need
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
There goes the gift basket for Secret Santa. If there are no questions now before the board is a resolution authorizing an award under the Community Development Block Grant Program for Economic Development to Columbia County for the Hudson Valley Creamery, assuming the first and second previously entered for the board. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted and the motion is carried. Now before the board is a resolution authorizing awards under the Downtown Revitalization Initiative Round 2.
Thank you. So OCR is presenting today for consideration $12,988,253 in Downtown Revitalization Initiative projects for review and action. Upon approval, OCR would execute agreements with the awardees and administer the projects in coordination with the Department of State. As background, the DRI process started in 2016 when the governor announced the program. This is for DRI-2, which was announced in the spring of 2017, and the communities were selected for participation following a similar process to DR1. Each area that was selected, or each community that was selected, was awarded $10 million, and of which $300,000 was used for a state planning and project development process. Department of State served as the lead agency, and OCR staff have participated in the planning and project development of these 10 communities with DOS representatives. This summer, the remaining balance of $9.7 million was awarded to projects outlined in each DRI community's plan, which resulted in statewide approximately 100 projects totaling $97 million. These projects have been assigned to participating agencies with appropriate expertise and administrative capacity, including ESD, Department of Transportation, Department of State, and Homes and Community Renewal and Housing Trust Fund Corporation. Through HTFC, OCR would administer the $12 million plus in DRI funding for 19 projects. We're requesting a recommendation resolution authorizing HTFC to execute grant agreements under the DRI program with the awardees and the amounts listed on the attachment of the memo. Any questions?
Well, these are cool. That's good.
All over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'll note that the Andrew Friedman home, which is owned by Mid-Bronx Senior Citizens Council, which was a client of mine for many, many years, this is an incredible building. And revitalizing that on the concourse is going to have a tremendous impact. It's a spectacular building that's landmarked inside, and the gardens have really not been maintained. So it's a fantastic grant.
Cool.
All right, then now before the board is a resolution authorizing awards under the Downtown Revitalization Initiative Round 2, assuming the first and second previously entered for the board. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted and the motion is carried. Now before the board is resolution authorizing approval under the secret documentation and classification of projects. Heather?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This afternoon I'm recommending 6 projects be categorized as unlisted actions under the secret regulations, and that negative declarations be made. The 6 projects, the first one is called Hillside North Phase 1. It's in the city of Troy and Rensselaer County. It is funded through home funding and is part of OCR's small rental program. It includes demolition of 3 blighted buildings and new construction of 5 two-story buildings for families with a total of 10 units. There were no significant environmental issues found in that environmental review. The second project is Perry Knitting Mill Apartments. It is used as a shop fitting. It's in the village of Perry, which is in Wyoming County. It's the adaptive reuse of a 3,500 square foot 3-story building, and also in addition to create 48 units. There's some site contamination that was discovered, and that will be remediated, and a vapor intrusion work plan will be prepared to protect tenants in accordance with DOH guidelines. The third project has already been discussed. It was the 23 North project that received a SIF award today. It also has HTF and New York Main Street funding in it. No significant environmental issues were discovered with that review. The fourth project is called the Cigar Factory, which is not, in fact, a cigar factory. It is in the city of Buffalo. It's a new construction and rehab to create 11 residential units and 1 commercial space. And despite having factory in its name, it also does not have any significant environmental issues associated with it. The fifth project is Grant Street Apartments, which is HTF funding in the city of North Tonawanda in Niagara County. It is a rehab of a former elementary school to create 52 residential units, and there were no significant environmental findings with that review. And the final project is 1585 Hurdle Avenue, which is funded through the Buffalo Main Street Initiative. It's new construction of a 5-story mixed-use building with 32 residential and 6 retail spaces. The property was formerly used as a gas station and auto repair shop, and it is being remediated through the New York State DEC Brownfield program. These environmental reviews showed no adverse environmental impacts, and at this point I am recommending the projects be classified as unlisted and negative declarations be made. Happy to answer any questions.
If there are no questions, then now before the board is resolution approving the secret documentation and classification of projects, assuming the first and second previously entered for the board. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted, and the resolution is carried, and the motion is adopted. Sorry, end of a long day. Hillary will be next with a resolution approving the transfer of New York Rising buyouts and acquisitions and program properties.
Yes, so GOSER's Buyouts and Acquisitions Program is seeking approval for the below fair market value transfer of 53 properties to 3 different recipients, which include the town of Brookhaven, Village of Suffern, and the Friends of Pickman-Remmer Wetlands, which is a not-for-profit. So in accordance with the Public Authorities Law, we've submitted for each property a number of documents, including a property description, the appraisal, description of purpose, among other items.
What was the third? You said Suffern, Brookhaven, and
Friends of Pickman-Remmer Wetlands.
And what where are they?
So they are a not-for-profit organization engaged in the preservation of a 87-acre Pickman-Remmer Wetlands conservation area.
Where is that?
I'm not
okay, no worries. All right.
Are these all for preservation as open space in vulnerable areas?
Yes.
Cool.
And so I see that in the memos, right? Because I thought, so in the memos, you are then telling the board why the transfer is appropriate?
Yes.
Okay.
When it's not being sold for fair market value.
Right.
Right. The answers are uniform for each property distributed to a certain entity, municipality, or not-for-profit. So we just sort of group them together just to try to reduce the amount of paper, because these are quite voluminous with the appraisals.
So the full supporting documents too were over 1,000 pages.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually online right now with the board materials on our site.
Okay.
And it appears that the wetlands are in the town of Islip by their Grand Canal.
And these are all being transferred to local government entities or nonprofits, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
All right, then now before the board is a resolution approving the transfer of New York Rising buyouts and acquisition program properties, assuming the first and second previously entered for the board. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The resolution is carried and the motion is adopted. The remainder of items are informational items and do not require board action. The first is the review of the secret concur summaries, review of the secret type 2 projects, review of the secret determinations for projects under the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery, review of authorized contracts under the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery, and review of the report on the status of multifamily projects. If there are no other questions, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'm sorry, motion to adjourn the board meeting. So moved. And a second?
Second.
And a motion to adjourn the meeting of the HTFC Governance Committee.
So moved.
And a second? Then the meetings are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry for bumbling. I'm sure we did the Hudson Valley Creamery.
No, you have no idea because these all come to us too. Everybody's making cheese or beer.
Right. Or chocolate. Chocolate. But
we don't get a lot
I think the deja vu was from our agenda meeting.
We get a lot of beer.
maybe
That's why it's
but we
seven.
talked about the Boys and Girls Club extensively.
I think at the agenda review meeting, because then we exceeded the threshold of the RFP, so it became a discussion at that juncture.
Oh, maybe
Yeah.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to do that to you.
No,
I was
it's fine.
sitting here going, oh my God.
I thought
feel
you meant the CDBG awards anyway, but
Okay.
for Boys and Girls Club, yeah.
I'm like, we've had this conversation before.
It was like from the agenda meeting,
Okay.
because then from there, the
Okay.
conversation started.
Even if it took years off Tom's life.